Hello.
Hi, Frank. This is Harry. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. Are you already in Columbus then?
I certainly am. Sorry, I'm a tiny bit late. I was my previous interview overran, but what a lovely T-shirt you're wearing.
Oh, hey, thanks. I appreciate that. I got to see them. Actually, my girlfriend asked me 2 nights ago. She said, "What was the last concert you went to just to go to a concert?" And I said, "This coming Sunday." And she said, "Well, what about the past?" I'm like, "I went to an Iron Maiden show that I didn't get approved to photograph 2 years ago, and that was the first time I'd ever seen them. So I was a little inebriated, but I still loved it anyway." So.
Yeah, yeah,
Your latest release is a single that you said is a little bit more punk. Is that right? Haven't
yeah,
you so well?
yeah. I mean, the whole of I've got a new record coming out next year, and like like most, I mean, I was sort of thinking along the lines of kind of doing a bit of a kind of a reset and kind of getting more involved in my sort of punk rock beginnings as an artist. Anyway, and then I don't know if you remember, there was this pandemic business that happened, and it gave us all a lot of time to kind of sit around and think about stuff, and it's kind of concentrated my creative um, directions. Do you know what I mean? It's like it went from being a record that was going to be maybe 10% more punk to being like 900% more punk, which is kind of fun. And I'm looking forward to people hearing it. And like the songs that are out already are generally at the gentler end of the spectrum of the record.
You don't have a solid release date yet for that, right?
I think we do. It's like February the something or other next year. I presume it's on my website. I don't know. I should know the
I
answer to
looked
that
at your
really.
website, but I didn't see it, so that's why I thought I'd
It's
ask.
it's mid let's say mid February 2022.
And then you got married in 2019, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
ask, how has this life-changing event affected your songwriting?
I mean, it's a good question. I get there is a kind of a line that certain people have, and I've had actually literally had this directed at me since I got married, or even since I settled into a long term relationship with my partner. It's like, oh, he's married now, he's not going to write any good songs anymore, and it's just like if you really pull it apart, there's a fair degree of misogyny in the middle of that statement. Do you know what I mean? And like, and also I think that the whole link between unhappiness and good art is pretty destructive at the best of times. Um, and the other, it's like, oh, like the only thing I have to be angry about is women. Like, fuck you, dude. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of other things to be angry about, and as evinced by the fact this new record is really quite aggressive, and it's the first one I've released since I got married. So go figure. But I mean, of course it affects me. I mean, I write in a kind of generally autobiographical style, and my writing therefore changes as I get older, and I would want it to. I don't want to be treading water and writing songs like I did when I was 23 for the rest of my life. That's ridiculous. I want to change and evolve and move on. In some ways, I guess what I would say is that for the most part, it gives me a sort of stability in my life that means that I can broaden my horizons in what I write about. I mean, there was quite a large chunk of my output as a solo artist, which was me moaning about being brokenhearted, to be blunt. And not that I still play those songs. I'm still proud of those songs. I don't need to write any more of them. Do you know what I mean? I've got enough for one songwriter's catalog of moaning broken-hearted songs already, so I can moan about other stuff now instead.
So there's a song that I love by Seawolf that during the pandemic, during the quarantine specifically, he was doing a live stream and he was going. People were asking him to play certain songs. Someone had requested that same song that I love so much, and his response was, "I don't know if I know the lyrics to that word anymore," which I thought was crazy because I mean it has a huge impact on me. I mean that the lyrics to that
Sure.
song. And so I'm wondering if there's any music that you have kind of retired or you don't think that you'll ever
Um,
perform again in live.
Well, I mean, it's funny you should ask that at this exact moment in history, simply because over the course of the pandemic, I played every single song I've ever written as a solo artist as part of a live stream because I was doing fundraisers for venues and stuff, and I was trying to sort of eke out my material for as long as it would last, in order to have more shows for more venues and to raise more funds. So I did actually kind of go through everything, but there was a fair amount of relearning stuff in the middle of that. Do you know what I mean? And I was doing them weekly, so sort of Monday to Thursday every week, I was like listening back to my records and being like, "Damn, how does this song go?" And if I'm honest with you, there were occasions when there may or may not have been a lyric sheet on the floor just out of shot of the camera for one or two songs. But I mean, I hesitate to say there's anything which I'm absolutely blank and like, no, I'm never going to play that again. Partly because like in a way that I find both interesting and exciting, like songs sort of cease to become just your property once you release them into the world. And I believe very much that interpretation is the most interesting thing about art. And like sometimes people ask me, "What's this song about?" And the answer to that is whatever you think it's about. That's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? And people have significant meaning and timing and that kind of thing with songs that I've written, and I'm hugely flattered by this and grateful for it. But so and I mean, we're straying into the territory of the whole thing of like there are certain bands who like don't want to play a certain song because they're bored of it, and it's just kind of like, but it's not about you. Do you know what I mean? It's about the audience, the people who pay money to be there and therefore like are paying your mortgage, dickhead. But like and take 3 minutes out of your 2 hour show to play the song that got everyone in the room, for Christ's sake. But so for me, like if you're doing it right as a performer, every time you play a show is different. Every time you play a song is different because it's about how it interacts with a specific group of people in a room at a certain time. I mean, there are songs that I think are less good than others. Do you know what I mean? And that I'm sort of like loath to kind of play that often because it makes me go, this is a bit rubbish. But then the thing is, I'm not now going to give you an example because every single time I do that, somebody listening goes, "Oh my god, that's my favorite song. You've ruined it for me now." Do you know what I mean? And it's like. So and in a way that's lovely. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I had this exact conversation about a certain song with somebody. I was like, yeah, that song just it doesn't quite work structurally. There's something amiss with it structurally. And this person was like, I have the lyrics tattooed on my back. It's the greatest song of all time, kind of thing. So I felt like an ass, but it was like nice to know that somebody disagrees with me about my own kind of précis of my material. That's kind of nice, So yeah, I'm not and like even like there was a song from super early doors for me called Thatcher Fuck the Kids that I stopped playing for a while because it kind of brought with it a certain set of kind of assumptions and people and in a way that got really quite tiresome for me, and I didn't play it for like a decade. And then in the last couple of years I started playing it every now and again, and people love it. And also while I was playing it I was like, damn, that's a good song. And then it was like, and I wrote it, so I can play it. Do you know what I mean? And like, and in a way, it was like a process of getting over myself. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, shut up, man, just play it. If people want to hear it, just play it. So, I've been enjoying kind of reviving that one.
Do you have a song that you are
right
most proud of right now?
I mean, the boring answer to that question is most of the stuff on the new record, which no one's heard. So, haha. But like, I mean, I'm very proud of the new record. I mean, in a way, if I wasn't, I'd still be working on it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, obviously, every artist says this at this point in the life cycle of an album, anyway, because that's just the nature of the beast. But like, I mean, I'm proud that as I approach my 40s, I'm 39 years old, and this is my 9th solo album, and I'm kind of pleasantly surprised and also proud that I still have things to say, and I feel I'm pretty sure I'm not just treading water and repeating myself. I mean, obviously people are free to disagree with that statement or whatever, but I feel like I'm breaking new ground and I'm saying different things and writing songs about different things, and not just kind of lyrics, musically kind of heading in kind of fresh directions for me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm reinventing the world, but like and that's kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there are many people who've got one great record in them or whatever, and I'm not saying that any of my records are great, but it's just nice to know that like this far into my career I still feel like I've still got the fire in my belly, and that's kind of nice. So there's a few songs in the new record which I'm super proud of.
What would you say gets you up in the morning?
My tour manager.
Your tour?
That was a ducking the question.
Let me give you a follow-up question. Are you simply suggesting that if it weren't for your tour manager, you'd get up in the afternoon?
No. I sorry, that was
good.
That was a good line. I mean, I don't know. Like, I generally speaking in my life, people say of me that I'm quite a driven person. I'm not always driven in good directions, but for good Lord, but like I tend to be. I mean, I since a young age, and I can't really say where this comes from, other than it's some sort of inherent part of my character or something. But like, I just feel like life is short, and there's a lot to get done, and you've got to get the fuck on with it now. And I've had that feeling since I was a kid, and. To take the example of my solo career, I started doing a solo career and it's like, right, let's play everywhere immediately. Let's get the fuck on with this. Let's write songs. Let's record them. Let's get them out. Cool. That was good. Let's write and record another record. And it's just, there's 24 hours in a day, and I like to be busy. I like to fill my day with things that feel meaningful to me. I don't want to, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody by saying this, but it's stuff like, so the computer games kind of drive me to distraction because it's just like, we'll be getting things done. you know, and obviously a lot of people enjoy them and find them relaxing or whatever else it might be, or it's a whole culture that I don't understand, so I'll shut up. But like, you know, I genuinely wake up in the middle of the night worrying about the fact that there are books that I'll never get around to reading, and that there are records that I'll never get around to hearing. That is true, and you know, I just want to get on with it, and that's one of the things that's made the last year and a half really fucking difficult, because it's just like, come on, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I am quite. I want to get on with things, and like, I mean, to specifically answer your question, I'm one of those people, like, I don't really sleep in the mornings, because the minute that, like, one of my eyes opens, I'm like, my brain goes and like is like, right, let's go. What are we doing today? And it's like, and sometimes that sucks. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, if I roll over in the middle of the night, quite often I then just wake up and I'm completely awake and then exhausted, and could do with sleeping more.
I think you may have answered this next. This is kind of a follow up too, because Halloween is a week from today. I was going to ask you what keeps you up at night, but I think
Yeah,
you.
I mean, similar stuff, similar stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Halloween's a much bigger deal in this country than it is in the UK.
yeah,
And we have a show. This is a question for you. We have a show on the 29th, and the question is, do we dress up for a gig on the 29th of
yeah,
October?
yeah. Sure.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So we have a day
Well,
off tomorrow, and I will be shopping for a Halloween
let
outfit.
me give you let me give you a side note. I was once the only person to dress up for a costume party once.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
everyone else dressed up, whereas I dressed in a costume. I didn't understand the invite, so
That's
whoops.
amazing. That's fantastic.
What is the most recent tattoo that you've had?
The most recent tattoo I had actually is it's just here. It's a little outline of a fox,
Mm-hmm.
just there, and it's a wedding tattoo. My wife got the same tattoo, which is her first, and I haven't seen my mother-in-law since she got it done, and I suspect that I may not survive the encounter. Um, because I'm not sure how stoked she was about her daughter falling in love with a guy with tattoos in the first place, and now she's got one, and it's a disaster. But there's a long and personal story about why foxes are important and for us together. But it's kind of our thing, foxes. So we got a little fox done,
Oh, that's
and
great.
mine sits there, and hers has nothing around it, and it stands out rather more.
I'm not going to ask you about the meaning of each of your tattoos because we don't have that time. But I know that I know you do have an Ohio tattoo, and
I do.
that was the 35th state that you visited in the U.S. Yeah, I
Good
look.
research.
You've got the list on your website.
Good
Research here.
good research.
So I want to ask you: do you have any other states tattooed on you?
I have the Canadian province of New Brunswick tattooed on my leg, and just to explain that, so well, and I have Texas as well. So a long time ago, I got a Texas tattoo while I was in Texas. I did South by Southwest. I had the kind of like textbook South by Southwest. I went, I got signed to Epitaph Records. I saw all my favorite bands play. All my shows were jammed out, and it was just a magic 5 days. And then on the last day, I saw the Van Pelt did a one-off reunion show, which I caught, and then I saw the Hold Steady, and then I got super wasted. And then at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I was lying on the floor of some guy's apartment, and he was tattooing Texas on my arm, and I was like, "What's happening right now?" And he's like, "Shut up!" And I didn't have that many tattoos at the time as well. But fuck it, you know. I mean, I don't believe in regretting tattoos. Who gives a shit? It's one of the things. I mean, are you a tattoo person?
No.
Okay, I just sort of find that, like, in a way that non-tattoo people sometimes find surprising, getting lots of tattoos makes you care quite a lot less about your appearance and about tattoos. It's just at a certain point you're just like, fucking it. Yeah, you want to do a kangaroo with a unicorn on my leg? I mean, okay, knock yourself out. I don't give a shit. Um, or indeed, so I had this Texas tattoo for years, and then about 5 years ago, I was in Ohio, and a friend of mine who's a tattoo artist was around, and he had his works with him, and he was just giving me shit all day about the fact I had a Texas tattoo and I didn't have an Ohio tattoo. And the obvious thing happened. I drank a bunch of tequila, and then I ended up with an Ohio tattoo. But the New Brunswick one, the story with that one, which was after this, I was playing a show in New Brunswick, which is, with all due respect, it's a pretty obscure part of Canada. And I was playing Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I was playing a song about tattoos, and I was telling the story about these two, Texas and Ohio. And this guy in the front row shouted out, he's like, "I've been working as a tattoo artist in New Brunswick for 25 years, and no one's ever got a New Brunswick outline." And I said, "Well, where's your shop?" And he said, "It's next door." And so I went and got a New Brunswick tattoo after the show.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it does sound like I remember. Post Malone has tattoos on his face. I got a picture of him right before he put some tattoo on his face here. I think it says "always tired" or something like that. And I saw something online where somebody was talking about tattoos on their face, and they said, "What's up with these rap artists today? They're starting to look like Chipotle bags." Because if you look at a Chipotle bag, it's all cursive writing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or it was
sure.
back then anyway. Um, so, do you have any idea how many tattoos you do have?
I don't. I kind of stopped counting quite a while ago, and it's like depends how you count. I mean, is that 8 or 2 or 1? Do you know what I mean? So, my niece, who is now 8 years old, once set herself the task of counting my tattoos, but in the way that an 8-year-old will do, she got bored
Oh.
about halfway through. So I don't have an answer, I'm
I
afraid.
didn't know if you cataloged them like you do your
I
concert.
don't. I don't. Well, they're there anyway. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I could. Do you know what I mean? If you gave me half an hour, but I haven't got around to that yet.
Sure, sure. You've mentioned rejoicing in human fallibility, I think, in an interview that I saw.
Yeah.
I think that, like, you seem to me like one of the most approachable artists I've ever
Thank
known
you.
of. I feel like you would feign interest in the conversation just to not hurt anyone's feelings. And I appreciate if you're doing that for me right now.
Man, there's a bear trap of a statement. Good lord.
But I want to know, what do you want to be known for? And the reason, part of the reason I'm asking this is because you've already got what, 2 books now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I've been busy. Diversifying, I think, is the way they put it. Yeah. I mean, that's a big question, and like, in some ways, I feel like answering it at all is slightly pretentious in the sense that it's not really up to me what I'm known for or not known for, and I just want to kind of get on with doing good work or whatever. Having said that, I mean, I would say 2 things. I mean, first of all, first and foremost, I consider myself to be a songwriter and a performer, and like the bits of my career that involve conversations about politics or about whatever other things it may be, they exist and they happen, and that's all well and good. But or indeed books or podcasts or anything else. But ultimately, I consider myself to be a songwriter and performer, and I'd like to be known as somebody who, I mean, I'd say who writes good songs, but let's say writes the best songs he can. And I think I'm quite good at playing shows. I mean, I know that sounds like an up my own ass statement, but like I've been doing it so much, it'd be kind of woeful if I wasn't at least passable at it by this point. So, you know, those 2 things are things that I carry some pride in, should we say, or at least think about. But the other thing, slightly more philosophically, and I actually wrote an entire record about this, Be More Kind, but like Clive James, who's a poet, Australian poet, is my favorite poet, who passed away 2 years ago. But he wrote a series of poems when he had terminal cancer, and in a much more poetic way than I'm about to put it, but he sort of pointed out that ultimately the way you treat people will be remembered way past the content of your disagreements. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'd like to be remembered as somebody who at the very least tried to be considerate. And whether or not that's punk or not, I couldn't really give a fuck. I'm way too old. But like, you know, I try and be considerate of other people, and I fail, I might add, regularly and with style. But like, you know, it is at least something I try and keep an eye on.
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, you have done so many live performances that, yeah, you've got to be a master at it. And I have seen you a few times, and I think of, I'm sorry, his name escapes me, your bassist.
Tarrant, yeah, Tarrant Anderson.
Uh,
Yeah.
I've seen the performance that you both put on, and I'm just like awestruck by you. I think he's the most entertaining bassist to see. Don't tell me. Don't. I don't want to.
I'll never fucking
No,
tell him
never
that.
tell
Good
him
lord.
But I mean, there's that iconic jump that you have. I mean, to me, because I love music so much, it's as iconic as the Michael Jordan air jump. I see that silhouette, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Frank Turner. And I've seen
Yeah,
you do the jump before, and I've attempted to get it. But now
yeah.
today, you're playing in Columbus at the Basement. It sold out immediately,
Mhm.
and I don't think there's enough room on that stage for your antics.
No, well, this is a duo tour as well, so it's just me and Matt out on this run,
Oh,
which
okay.
is which I'm really enjoying because it's a format that we've done here and there over the years, but we've mostly only ever done it in the UK, and it's a slightly different show. I mean, it's obviously same songs or whatever, and blah blah blah, but there's a Matt and I have a kind of a conversational rapport on stage, which I think is kind of fun, and yeah, it's kind of a different vibe. It's more of a kind of storytelling show or whatever, and it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of kind of messing around in between songs and stuff. But it's also, I mean, to be honest, to be blunt, right now getting the whole band into the country wasn't really financially doable for me, and that kind of thing. And indeed, we're kind of keeping our powder dry for next year when we're going to do the biggest US tour in history, possibly.
Well, that's excellent. I hope I get to talk to you again then too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and hopefully we'll be able to do it in person next time.
The Joy Formidable, if you're familiar with them,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do a similar show that you're talking about, like kind of having a conversational. I mean, I've seen them do other shows there, but here in Columbus, but at this same location, and it was to me wildly entertaining. Again,
Well, fingers crossed we can live up to that. The Joy Formidable are an excellent, excellent band, in my opinion.
it was so conversational, and again, it was just like what I was talking about with you, is that they seem very human, and to just see them interact with each other on stage was just great fun.
I can personally attest that they are humans. Yeah.
I've talked to them before too. I can attest.
Yeah, yeah, good, good.
All right, so I'll let you get ready for this evening show. I'll see you there. Your doors open at 7, is or do you?
Doors are at 7. Nathan Gray's on at 8. And I would advise catching his set.
Yeah, excellent, great. I really appreciate your time, Frank.
Awesome, man. I'll see you later on. All the best.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.